Everybody, can you hear my voice?
Yes, a little loud, Sam.
Ah, tough shit, you got no choice. So grab a glass and sit back in your chair, 'cause Uncorked is going live to air.
So here we are again, Sam. Podcast time.
Is it that time? I thought it was good. Oh, no, it is. I can tell it's that time because our guests already have whiskeys in their glass.
They have. So do I now. So taking prompt from them, I filled mine. So any excuse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So welcome.
Who do we have today then, Sam?
We have Dr. Whiskey. We have Boutique Dave. We are your hosts of Uncorked Whisky Sessions. We're doing this more frequently, and under this lockdown, we have been including video. If you dare to watch it, you can find it somewhere on the internets. Otherwise, stay old school, man. I listened to them back when they were on vinyl. That's when they were streaming.
When they were
well, now,
surely.
Yeah, we're moving ahead. And we're even crossing oceans. We have two guests, two friends, two whiskey brothers that I've known for over a decade. Johnston, Yellin, and Joshua Hatton. These are the people, you might have heard of the Jewish Whiskey Company, the Jew Malt, Good Scotch Drink, the Whiskey Roundtable, One Nation Under Whiskey Podcast, Single Cask Nation. These guys have touched a lot of wood.
I'm touching wood right now.
That intro is giving me wood. Thank you, Sam.
It doesn't take much. That's why I invited you here. I figured video is a good format for you. That's why we haven't had you on before. Thanks for being here, though, guys.
Yeah. Cheers. Thanks for the invite. It's an honor to be here.
Well,
you're somebody we talk about a lot on the podcast as somebody without whom neither Joshua nor I would be doing what we do. So thank you for blazing that trail.
Well, I know you're not just kissing my ass because I've heard you say it, but I've never heard the full thing because that's at the point that I turn the podcast off.
Before your wood explodes?
We were, we were peers, weren't we, at the time? I mean, Dave as well. Dave had Whiskey Discovery. Let's tell our journeys a little bit. Not Dave and I, because everyone's heard that a million times. But I think it's an interesting perspective to get, how we got here, how we got into whiskey, and how fortunate we all were to be on a timeline of the digital age that allowed us to do it, I think. So why don't you go one at a time?
Exactly right. Yeah, let me jump in here, Joshua. And so, Sam, I did a little bit of what you did, where by the end of the 90s, I was the co-president of my University Whiskey Society, that being the University of Aberdeen, up in a city where you do literally walk into the wind in both directions, and snow is uphill in all directions as well. And so I had a Finnish co-president, wonderful chap, Eddie Pirainen, and we just had a blast. Broke ass college students with amazing whiskey at our disposal. I then in 2001 moved over to the United States and basically left all my whiskey behind in Scotland.
By the way, you left this hat.
You dirty Canadian. Are we allowed to swear on your podcast?
You better swear. You're going to get kicked off.
Okay, let me begin that again. You dirty Canadian bastard. So,
was bastard the swear you were keeping us from? You are bad.
It's Canadian.
Yeah, Josh is a man who likes 4-letter swear words. I like them to be a little bit longer in my mouth. So that's...
among others.
So I was in Eastern Washington, Northern Idaho. It's called the Palouse in the United States, and I had no whiskey, and I thought, okay, what did I learn from my University of Aberdeen days? I can get a group of people together who will buy my whiskey for me, and all I have to do is talk to them in a Scottish accent. And so my Whiskey Society was born, and we're now into 17 years of that. Off the back of having a Whiskey Society in the Palouse, as you were alluding to a moment ago, Sam, we had access to the internet. And so I just started posting some of the things we were doing with the society on the internet. through that, I ended up meeting Joshua, ended up creating Good Scotch Drink, and off of that, started reading you, following you. We always talk about Serge at Whisky Fun being an OG, and Keith or Kevin Erskine.
Keith Wood. Oh,
No, not
Kevin,
Keith Wood.
Kevin Erskine.
Kevin
Erskine.
Erskine. Yeah,
Yeah.
Kevin Erskine, yeah.
Yeah, it's Scotch Blog, I think it was. And so those three were kind of my OGs. And then I just started writing, met Josh, and then Joshua, who's a crazy son of a gun, in 2010 said, what do you think about starting an independent bottling company?
So
And-
you didn't live near each other. You lived different parts of the country, but whiskey.
Yeah, that October where you actually did a tasting at Joshua's synagogue, I flew from the Pacific Northwest to Connecticut just to attend that tasting at the synagogue and meet you.
Such disappointment, you poor bastard.
Yeah, you're far too humble. That was another kind of life-changing moment for me, where I was like, if he can do it, surely I can do this. And here I stand, a decade later, testament.
People flying around the country to come to your tastings in Canada.
So there you go. That's the Reader's Digest version of my story, Joshua.
Well, mine's not too much different from yours, that it starts completely different. So I guess it is very different. My whiskey journey did not start at university. It started in my synagogue. And, we would have Friday evening services. And after each Friday evening, we had something called oneg. In Hebrew, I don't know what that means, but what it means when you hear the word oneg, it means you're going to go to the hall and you're going to drink wine, drink coffee, and eat a lot of garbage. But
Sounds
we
like
had
university.
one. Yeah, right. So I guess our origin stories are very similar. But we had this congregant there who actually, he's now a rabbi at his own synagogue, but congregant there would bring 4, 5, 6 whiskeys at a time every Friday night to our synagogue. And after services, he would hang out with his whiskeys at a table. And if you wanted to try whiskey, if you wanted to hang out, come and join. And I wasn't very interested in whiskey at all. I really wasn't too interested in drinking for the most part. But I wanted to try whiskey because before that, I never really appreciated it. I just kind of used it as a vehicle to get me from here to, on the floor somewhere. So
Why did you have Josh? Why did you have no interest in spirits writ large? No interest in drinking, you said.
A lot of that has to do with music scene that I in my teens and early 20s. I was in punk and hardcore, and I was a straight edger. Straight edge kids, no drinking, no drugs, no nothing.
Wow.
And it just wasn't my bag. But things changed. Obviously, I went from straight edger to independent bottler.
So when you go back again, when you swing back again, we'll start seeing you at public schools preaching about the problems of addiction.
Yes, exactly.
Single Caste Nation brings you the temperance movement.
But he was tasting with that congregant. He said, "Are you interested in a whiskey?" And I was, but I said, I don't know what whiskey to try. I don't even know what these things taste like. And he said, "Well, I'll make it simple for you. Do you want sweet or do you want smoky?" And I said, I didn't even know smoky was a thing. I didn't know that could exist in a drink. And so he poured me that whiskey.
I wish he had that tattooed on his knuckles. This is sweet. This is smoky.
This is
Which
smoky.
one you want, brother? Which one?
He would have to have a few extra fingers to make that happen.
You think you could do smoky without an E? SMOKY SWEET. Yeah, it works. 5 and 5 if you don't put an E in smoky. Sorry.
So I got
we're known for the hard-hitting grammar takes. So I just need your listeners to know that. Come for the whiskey, stay for the grammar. So continue, Joshua.
So he poured Lagavulin 16, and I fell in love because it wasn't about the flavor. It was about me being transported into a memory, into just being in the woods and camping, around the fire with my dad, and, being there in the fall time and the smells. And it was just, all of a sudden, whiskey became not a vehicle to get you from point A to point B, but a vehicle to get you from the present to the past. And I really loved that. And I fell head over heels. And anytime I fall head over heels into something, where it's, guitars, comic books, whiskey, like you name it, I'm just whole hog into it. And so I started reading every blog I could. I wanted to know what other people thought about whiskey. Sam, like yours was one of the earlier blogs that I was reading. Serge, of course. Jason was actually an early teacher of mine with his blog before he was Good Scotch Drink. He was Whiskey Host. And then I started my blog, and it was through the blogs, right? We were all, Jason and I spent a lot of time figuring out where that next sample was coming from. It was almost like being a drug addict. When am I going to get smoke? When am I going to get my next sample? It was through this interaction of just sharing samples, being on Twitter, emailing one another, hopping on phones, that Jason and I just really, really, really hit it off. And in November of 2010, I had this idea where, I said, 1,000+ people visiting each of our blogs every day, wanting to know what we think about other people's whiskeys. What if we bottled our own, and people may be interested in buying the whiskeys that, that we loved so much, we put our own into and bottled for them. And so that was the idea. I called Jason on a Thanksgiving day. And I remember calling him up and say, "Hey, Jason, what are you doing?" He said, "Enjoying Thanksgiving dinner with my family. What are you up to?"
Anyway, I was on the West Coast. Yeah, I was actually watching football. I was like, "I'm trying to watch football, man." He was like, "What's football?" I was like, "It's a sport you have in America that you've never seen." So can I
I thought it was a condition that he was talking about.
Can I revisit one of the things you just said there, Joshua?
Yeah.
This to really show Sam and Dave's listeners just how deep we go on the grammar takes. You, as long as I've known you, have said all of this sudden. And it's always driven me absolutely crazy because the expression is all of a sudden. And so because I spend my time...
I missed the difference there. Can you do that one more time in your Scottish accent to make it so clear?
So Joshua says all of the, THE, sudden.
Yeah.
And the expression is all of a, letter A, sudden. However, I live to correct Joshua. And so I like to make sure that I'm correct before I correct him. And so I looked it up one day, all of this sudden. And you'll like this, Sam. All of this sudden, THE, dates to Shakespearean times. Shakespeare used all of this sudden. And so I have never once corrected Joshua on his use of all of the sudden. And every time he says it, I think there's a man referencing Shakespeare.
One of the most revered Williams of all time. Yeah.
Right. And so just in case any of your listeners were thinking, wow, Joshua says all of the sudden like Americans do, I just want to come to the side of my brother in arms and say, he was quoting Shakespeare right there.
I'm just looking for my pound of flesh, Jay. That's it.
You guys are doing a very good job of making our podcast almost as long and meandering as yours. Tell us about that. When did you start doing that?
Saying all of the sudden.
First time he read Shakespeare, he just absorbed it. So we have to tell you this. We've got a very, very dear friend, Jens Fischer, who you chaps may very well know. He may very well follow you as well. He's in Germany. We saw him at the Campbelltown Whisky Festival last May. And he said, guys, you put out a podcast that's 2 hours long every 2 weeks. I only have a 20-minute commute to my work and then 20 minutes home at night. There are days when I drive to and from work where your whiskey podcast never talks about whiskey. And he said, I love it. Please never, never change that. And so we should all meander. We should all take our time getting to the point. We should all talk about whatever the hell it is we want to talk about and let the right audience find us. You know, fucking Dr. Whiskey's posts. How often did you get straight to the point about whiskey, Sam? And how often did you just walk the entire street knocking on all the doors before you finally got to the one with whiskey behind it?
I limited myself to 5 paragraphs. Thank you very much. But the position you just took stake in is right for someone living in Trump's America. What brought you to the States?
Well, to be honest with you, Sam and Dave, I was in search of the ultimate freedom. And I felt like only this country could give me the level of freedom that I was searching for, which is why, along with many, many of my fellow concerned citizens, I am outraged that my freedom has been taken away from me.
In what way has it been taken away? Are you locked down in America yet? Indeed. Are you still waiting for everyone to die?
Exactly. Both. But why not both, Sam? We are both unable to leave our homes. Sorry, I just live to make Joshua laugh. That's all my goal is, and the fact that he is currently laughing makes me very, very happy. So, yeah, here's the honest answer, Dave and Sam. It was a girl. You know, it's always a girl, right? Why do you leave your homeland to go anywhere? It's either for the opposite sex, the same sex, whatever you're into, whatever you like putting things into. That's why you do it.
You told me it was football.
Football. So I have revised my answer over 20 years. When you tell the immigration officer that your reason for moving to the United States is football, and he tells you straight to your face without any hint of a smile that you'll have to do better than that, you start to edit your answer somewhat. And so yeah, now it's a girl. Every immigration officer in the world accepts that it's a girl. So,
Dave, what about you? So we're talking. I mean, I love great stories, guys, and that points to something that I think Dave and I both love about this whiskey world. Of course, it's a drink. Of course, the history, the way it makes you feel, the taste, but the community is what kept us here. You guys both spoke to that. You came from a community, a Jewish community that had a Friday night or a Saturday night, a Shabbat Kiddush club, really, where you would continue the learning that happens, and in that sort of environment, and then fostered into something much bigger in an area that you love through an online community where you met someone who's from Scotland but lives on the other side of your country. Dave, what about you? I mean, you are super active on Twitter and social media and have been since your blog Whisky Discovery. What's the community look like for you in your bit of the world?
What today?
Dave, I'm trying to bring you into the conversation. Get busy, buddy.
Well, it's funny because the person who introduced whiskey to me was Jewish as well. My sales manager is Jewish, and it was him who brought whiskey into my life at work. He brought a bottle into work and asked me to drink it. He was a bit of a connoisseur. And they have their whiskey club down in North London. It was him who introduced me to whiskey. And I, like you, Joshua, a bit of a geek. Whatever I get myself into, I dig deep. And this whiskey that he introduced to me on the first year, I just took it. And yeah, that was nice. Didn't do anything about it. Didn't change my life. But the second one he brought it in the next year, it was
I'm sure you guys caught that, right? The grammar. I'm listening to Dave's grammar as he's speaking. I heard the him and he. You guys heard that. All right. Sorry. Continue, Dave. I'm sorry.
I have no idea. And he brought in a Kalila that completely changed my life. I took one sip of it and thought, jeepers, this is, just so good. Why am I drinking this shit? I just, I wanted to find out more. I never really drank whiskey up until that point. It was always.
This explains your sartorial choice today, Dave. Now the hat makes perfect sense. You've worn that hat since the day you had that life-changing Kalila. I get it now. Dave now makes sense to me.
That's not a hat, that's a tattoo. It's been tattooed to my head.
We have done beautiful work with the visor. Beautiful, beautiful ink work.
I forgot I got this one on. Just you wait until a bit later. Well, I'll change it. Yeah, because I have to wear a hat because, yeah, I haven't had a haircut for so long. You know, my civil liberties being taken away. I can't go for a haircut, as you were mentioning.
You can join my protest anytime you want, Dave.
I'd love to talk a little bit about single cast nation. Then. Okay, oh shit, what happened? We're all talking out. I'm sorry. Not. Were you finished speaking, Dave? I'm sorry. We now pause for her little playing of the Boutique 50 CL. No, it's just too high in the glass. So I'm going to pour some. You guys want to pour a dram? What are you having?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
As you know, chaps, it's early morning for us on the East Coast of the United States.
Don't say that. Let's start from the top. Don't say that.
Don't say that.
No, it's definitely a responsibility thing that I don't feel comfortable as a daddy of girls.
East Coast.
So we'll edit this. No, not the East Coast bit. Drinking in the morning.
Oh, really?
Yep.
My kids are in the house. They're watching. They lined up to see me pour it. I made an event of it.
My daughter's already passed out. She drank a bunch of rye at breakfast. So that's a different issue. What I'm saying is I don't want this to go out with you talking about drinking in the morning. It's the afternoon. Go ahead.
Oh, man. Let's be truthful, Sam. Let's tell the truth. Come on, we're exposing grammar honesty. So my early portion of the day, Dram, and to you, whether that's morning or whether that's early afternoon, we all have our early portions of the day that we all believe firmly in.
Catchy phrase, yeah.
In honor of you, Sam, because Joshua and I have been saying such nice things, and Dave, clearly we do cherish you. I just know nothing about your life, and so when you have us back on this podcast, when this lockdown goes into 4 months, and I've had a chance to get really geeky on Dave Worthington's life, I will dedicate my drams to you then.
I guess there's no need then to ask you if you ever listened to our podcast.
dude, have you Joshua has this cute little trait that when we're interviewing people for One Nation Under Whiskey, he will say to them, have you listened to the podcast as part of the interview? Not if you've listened to the podcast, then you'll have seen X, Y, and Z. But just
hard biting questions.
Yeah, have you listened to the podcast? And the thing we've come to find out is millions of people are recording podcasts and virtually nobody is listening to anybody else's podcast.
Wait a second. Who else has a podcast? I don't even know.
So we pretty much only record our own and then send it out into the ether, which is exactly how the blogging started. Did you start writing thinking there would be an audience, or did you just write for yourself and that made you happy?
No, for two friends, my brother-in-law, and for one friend up in Edinburgh. Yeah, exactly.
Right. And so I think we're in the same kind of realm. But so to answer the question, because I know that
there was a question.
Yeah, what was the bloody question? I can't remember.
I know that you would appreciate us getting to the point and answering your well thought out, well reasoned questions. Is this early portion of the day, I am having a Compass Box Great King Street Artists Blend, because it's an homage to Edinburgh, and you, Sam, are an homage to Edinburgh yourself.
Oh God, that poor city.
It's survived worse, to be honest.
Yes, it has. Plagued twice. Who else eats their shit every morning and says, "Oh, why are we sick again?"
Oh, easy. I don't like talking about eating shit in the morning. Early afternoon, please.
Nice. Now we have to leave that in for that joke to work. All right, you won. You won. American, you did go there for freedom.
Parole move. I cornered you.
So their podcast, if you have 2 hours to waste or a really long commute, it's called One Nation Under Whiskey. It's actually very entertaining. This season's been awesome with incredible guests right off the top. And yeah, they meander everywhere, but that is what makes podcasts work. You know, you fall in love with the characters as much as the topic, and you want to hear what stupid shit they come up with.
Exactly. So we've actually, because of the lockdown and because more people are not listening to more podcasts, but more podcast recorders are recording more podcasts, we've actually added a second one called Extra Extra. It's all about whiskey. And we have set ourselves the challenge of keeping it to a tight 30 minutes. And we take a news story from the week. Clearly, we just started this podcast. It's very COVID-19 focused. But it's a chance for a couple of industry chaps who talk about the news between ourselves anyway to talk about it for that audience. And you hit the nail on the head, Sam. People like the personality of the people that they tune into. If I look over any of the podcasts that are in my feed, I like the people who are recording them. I like listening to them literally talk about anything they want. And so we've kind of run with that idea for Extra Extra. It's all about whiskey. So yeah, we're now up to 2 podcasts. If this lockdown continues, we might get up to 3 or 4. We might start including dance numbers. The sky's the limit.
Dance on radio would be impressive. No, only you could pull it
for
off.
radio.
Yeah. So hold up your bottles, guys. What are we having right now? All right, so that's a rum cask Balvenie 17. Oh, that brings me back to when I met you, buddy. That's cool. Oh, and the great King Street as well, Edinburgh. That's very thoughtful drams, guys. Dave, what do you have in that?
I've got a sample bottle of Heaven Hill 9-year-old corn whiskey from Boutique.
Oh, nice. Delish. I've got a Boutique as well to start, a 24-year-old bourbon from a distillery that I cannot name.
Did it have a fire in the late 90s, though?
Why would I suggest...
I'm just asking questions. I'm a podcaster by nature now. Oh, Jason's laptop's going through a tunnel. Oh.
Whisky Festivals. Before we get into actually single cast nature, because next week, wasn't it, Dave? You were saying next week was supposed to be
Spirit of Speyside meant to start next Wednesday, Thursday. Yeah. We had a number of gigs lined up, didn't we?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, this is festival season, isn't it? There was the first Whisky Festivals just starting the last couple of weeks, and then end of April, all of May is all of the Scottish festivals, isn't it? Because it's the only time in Scotland that it's neither freezing or pouring with rain or full of midges. So yeah, one after the other, isn't it? It's Speyside, Highland, Campbelltown, Islay. Every festival runs more or less concurrently through the 4 or 5 weeks of May.
Yeah.
And so often I see you guys at these things, so I guess you won't be there. And eventually it's going to come into question your own festival. I know you've run a festival for years, and your involvement in these other festivals that we just mentioned. What's going to happen? I mean, this is a great opportunity to have you guys try to predict the future and hopefully air this, proving you completely wrong.
Well, I think it's good to point out that our festival, Whisky Jubilee, we put to bed. When did we put to bed? When did we put to sleep?
2018.
2018 was the year we Jubilee.
Yeah, we saw a global pandemic coming and planned accordingly.
Visionaries.
Yep.
Yep. The entire pandemic team that our administration had fired, we had hired them on to Jewish Whiskey Company to give us an understanding of what would become. And, we only hired them because Obama hired them. That's why we got them.
Yeah, well, that's how you think. Exactly. It's A or B, isn't it? You're binary humans. You're simple.
Yep. Freedom or oppression.
Yeah, it's one or the other. Communism or the good one.
That's
But yeah,
so your festival's done, but we're going to miss seeing you in the global circuit and many others. What thoughts on that?
Huh?
Were you coming this year? Let me make it more specific so we can actually talk about something. Were you coming to Speyside? Were you coming to Islay, Campbelltown?
We did Campbelltown last year. We did Fiji last year. A couple of years before that, I did Speyside Festival, And then overseas, overseas from the US that we do is malt stock, but that's as far as we go for overseas festivals. Now, having
We
said
did Glasgow's Whisky Festival for the first time last November.
We did Glasgow's Whisky Festival, but having said all that, having launched Single Nation in the UK and Europe and in Asia, we were really looking forward to being a larger part of the festival circuit to get out there, really relying on it to get our brand there. We're well in the US. People know single cask is definitely a known commodity. We have a following and all of that and dandy. However, we are definitely the new kids on the block when it comes to the rest of the world. And so, yeah, we were going to lean on festivals, and now we're leaning on things like this and Zoom chats. And
we're all learning and adjusting. Yeah, well, I mean, so the festival for some, I guess, for the whiskey drinker, it gives them a chance to try things they never tried before, to build their community, to keep the community going, or to start it new. To meet the makers, all of these things. And then for exhibitors, that side of it I hadn't really thought about. That's where especially smaller brands get a chance to get in front of people for the first time, where there isn't a big marketing budget or a big company behind, or a massive distribution. It's a lost opportunity. So are you looking at what else can be done?
Yeah, very much so. It's we're looking at the US to begin with. It's where we're home to. It's where we are used to doing all of our travel. But we're also looking at Jess Lomas, who's our global sales manager, and she's looking into organizing some of these Zoom type tastings. The hope, of course, and I think everyone shares the same hope, is that by the fall you might see the fall circuit survive. It's going to be interesting. I think, think of
Jason.
Sorry,
I don't know if I'm just incredibly pessimistic this morning. I feel you're being optimistic, but saying the fall survive.
I'm thoroughly optimistic. Yeah, geez, if we don't have the hope of the fall circuit, I cannot brace myself for 12 months of not having places to go, people to pour in front of, just to tell jokes to people again. I think there's going to be a craving. Sam, you're asking about the future of this. I think it was easy to become a little bit blasé about the festival circuit. I think it was easy to see a pattern of large ballrooms, no windows, same faces. I think it got to be a little bit rote. I think if you looked at some of the larger players, they were churning out the same offerings, the same pourings. We in the know were getting a little bit grumbly about seeing the same shit at different festivals. In my abject optimism, I'd like to see a rebirth of how festivals are conducted, how the big boys respond to the consumers in front of them. And at the same time, I hope consumers get to, free themselves from the shackles of what's your oldest, what's your most expensive, and they actually start to engage with, how is this made? Where is this from? What's your ethos? I'd like the questions that are being asked to change as well. With all this said, and given that, we are binary human beings, there's a very good chance people will just say, woohoo, I'm back at another festival, let's get pissed. And it'll just be like it always was, and nobody will have learned anything. But damn it, I'm locked in my house with my 2 children, and I want to be optimistic this morning. I mean, this early afternoon. Cheers. Glug, glug, glug.
Oh, it's all that coming.
Dave, what time is it?
It must be time for a stupid game. I think it's time to unleash.
Who's this?
Yeah.
Well, he just took off his tattoo.
Oh, yeah, we're going to play a game. We are going to play a game, and we've got the Uncorked Cowboy out. So Sam and I are doing an Instagram live catch-up at 2 o'clock every day. And we were challenged to wear a different hat every day. And this was one of them. I do like hats. I've got a lot of hats, but the hats have been changing rapidly. So today's lunchtime session, I had a cycling helmet on, but this was the Uncorked Cowboy I surprised Sam.
Wow.
And I did do a stupid accent as well, but I can't keep it up for very long. So we are going to play a game. I'm going to try and share my screen now. What we're going to play, 1 minute, let me just find the window that I need. We are going to be playing Corn Dog or White Dog.
So what's the premise then, Dave?
Well, what the premise is if it's a real distillery, if it's real, it's a White Dog. So there are 10 questions here of American distilleries that are in the back of Ingvar Ron's Malt Whiskey Yearbook. So they're distilleries in America making whiskey, but are they? Some of them might be made up by me, and if you shout Corn Dog. So that is the first one, and here is the first one.
So hold on, guys. Remember to buzz in.
All
Use
right.
your bottle.
Oh,
Yeah, you got a cork. You got to uncork. There you go.
Okay, we have that.
so who goes? Jason, did you beat me?
I think Jason was first. Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna say White Dog.
White Dog, it certainly is. Sorry, the music. Yeah, it is. It's in San Francisco, California. Founded in 2013, and they're making whiskey from craft beers. 1 point to Jason.
Okay, I actually follow them on Instagram.
Question number 2. It is.
Yeah. You know what? You got to do an Instagram live. What do you think about that, Joshua?
The
I know
Deer
Jason
Hammer
feels about it.
Story.
Yeah, I'm game. Jason is a Luddite. I don't even know why he's on this right now.
I'm trying to help
Joshua, are you pulling your cork?
I pulled my cork, but
Okay.
my cork needs to be bigger.
Maybe your
guess.
cork needs to be wetter.
Yeah, just get it moisten that.
Moist, is that the word moist that we use?
Go on in, Josh.
Did you see my prime minister talk about use the word moist and sort of shiver at his own use of it? I will send you the link after this.
Hearing Bojo say the word moist is the only way I can come. I mean, so Deer Hammer, I'm going to say that is Corn Dog.
Oh, I was gonna say White Dog.
Perfect. That's the
Really?
result we want. I'm going to go Corn Dog.
It was indeed White Dog.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's 2.5 kilometers up in the sky, up in the mountains there, and works at 0 humidity.
I wonder how
Interesting.
maturation works with 0 humidity.
Sugar Shack.
Wait, isn't that the hamburger place? No, that's the Shake
Yeah.
Shack.
Sure.
That's Shake
Yeah.
Shack.
Shake Shack just gave back $10 million when the government of the United States gave it to them as a small business. Oh, that's Shake Shack here.
This has nothing to do with the game, Jason. Come on.
Okay, my cork is out, as you can see from the length of my cork. I'm going to say Corn Dog.
It certainly is a corn dog. I made it up.
Corn Dog.
Although the Sugar House Distillery does exist in Salt Lake City,
close.
Utah.
Oh, you're close to tricking us there, Dave.
Close to tricking us.
Sneaky.
Okay, the Northlands Distillery is our next one. Is it a White Dog or is it a Corn Dog?
That's a really good name. Like that's so good you would think people will have that. Which makes me think that it's Corn Dog. That no one can think of that good a name.
I agree, Corn Dog.
Yeah, you did right. It definitely is a corn dog. I made that one up, although it was based on the Western Distillery and that does exist in Seattle, Washington.
That's where you nearly got me, because I obviously know Westland with bottled Westland. To see Northland, I was like, could they? No. And so, Corn Dog. Through and through.
All these made up names as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, hearing you guys say Corn Dog 3 times in a row is really getting me hungry.
If you say Corn Dog 3 times from mirror, never mind. Let's just
Okay, next one is GOPHER Whiskey.
GOPHER Whiskey.
Might as well go for a whiskey. Nobody hurts and nobody Corn Dog.
Corn Dog.
No.
I'm going to say Corn Dog, but it almost sounds like that's what God had told Noah to drink when he was building the ark. It's like get some gopher wood and some gopher whiskey.
Yeah,
I thought you were gonna say that's what God told Moses. Go for whiskey.
I hope you poured yourself one, because I did tell you to go for whiskey. Yes, of course, it's a... it made me laugh.
That was a good one, though. I like that.
Fainting Goat Spirits.
I want to say that is White Dawg. I feel as if I've heard that before.
The fainting goats are so popular across all of the interwebs.
Well, I feel as if I feel
Yeah.
as if I read it once, thinking that it said farting ghosts, and then or goats, and then it made me laugh, and then I had to reread it.
You had me at farting ghosts. That would
Farting
also be a really good distillery name. Fainting goat. I'm going to go White Dawg on this one.
Yeah, White Dawg.
Yeah, definitely. That is a White Dawg. It's in
fantastic.
North Carolina, founded in 2015, and they started making single malt in 2019.
Fantastic. Yeah, smart marketing name on that one.
Well, here we go. The Copper Beaver Distillery.
Consensual.
That smells a little bit like a corn dog.
Oh yeah, you know why? This has to be a play on Copper Fox. It's a Copper Beaver. It's Copper Fox.
Nice.
Or
Right.
Copper Works,
That's right.
or just down
Yeah,
from
yeah.
Westland.
Oh, look at that! Look at that!
Fox Distillery in Sperryville, Virginia. Yeah, you were right
Copper
on.
Fox is 45 minutes from my house.
Uh-huh.
You can smell it from there.
One more. Got a few more.
This was well done, Dave. This is good stuff.
Grey Heron Spirits.
Oh,
Gray. Well, I've heard of a white heron and a blue heron. I've
yeah.
never
Blue
heard-
Heron used to be a fantastic beer in Portland, Oregon. Blue Heron.
It's also a Joel bird, Jason.
I know we actually have a nesting one just around the corner from my house here.
Do they
Is there a
make
reason?
skins?
Is there a reason why the HER is red and the ON is blue?
I didn't do this, but I did a very simple one, and it was taken over and it was jazzed up and made boutique-ful. So I think.
Wait, you say very simple, Dave. You've been hand illustrating these games on our afternoon teas every weekday at 2 p.m. on the Boutique channel. That's pretty badass, and I think this looks great. But hand drawing them is pretty fucking sweet.
I knew there was a reason it was smeared with cucumber sandwiches and clotted cream.
No, that was a fond.
There we go. Okay, good.
You
You're
were
thinking, oh, geez, I didn't know black heron existed.
The
Wow.
Black Heron Distillery in Washington. Yeah, I think Joshua said you'd heard about it.
Huh. Black is Washington State or Washington, D.C.?
Washington State, I think.
Okay.
Go back. I'll have to go back on that one. Where's my bit of paper?
Rough Stock is definitely White Dawg.
It's White Dawg. I'm popping my cork. It's me while I whip this out, and it's my
It
cork.
is indeed a White Dawg in Montana, founded in 2015. I'm not sure about all these facts on the bottom there, whether they've been copied and pasted from my original one, I must admit. Because that seems making single malt in 2019 exactly the same as one of the previous ones.
Yeah.
So I'm not so sure yet. But yes, that was a White Dawg. You've won a prize. That is now this one wins the prize. I mean, that was the buzzer there that says if you get this one right, you win a prize. The Bull Run Distillery.
Bull Run, Portland, Oregon. It's in the Pearl District.
Here's the prizes going to you, sir.
It's actually just down the road from McCarthy's distillery that he sold.
100% Oregon single malt.
Wow, I would not have known.
Yeah.
I would not have
I
known
think
that.
we have one more. I think there's one more on the end of here. No, that was it.
Oh,
That was
thank
the
goodness. I was 100%. Not that I would report on my own numbers.
Well, thank you for playing along with me in there. Yeah, this is how I used to do it. I don't know if that comes out.
Oh yeah, it's
GOPHER.
in reverse. Yeah, GOPHER Whisky Distillery in reverse.
So, can I ask you a personal question, Dave?
I had to write it in reverse for.
Oh, there you go. Look at you. What a smart
I
man.
had to write it in reverse for Instagram because I was holding it to the camera in front of me. So everything was in reverse. And yeah,
Can I
Yeah.
ask
Beautiful
you?
penmanship.
hundreds
Can
of
I
bits of A5 paper with Sharpies on it that I don't have to do anymore. But, it's all over the floor here.
That was a beautiful presentation.
Yes, thank you. Well, thank you.
Well, thank you
Indeed.
playing
Thanks for that,
along.
Dave.
And playing along with the Uncorked Cowboy. Y'all have a nice day now.
Bye-bye, Uncle Cowboy. We'll catch you later. Y'all come back now, here.
Yeah.
Catch you on the flip. Flippity flop.
Guys,
So you
a
go
few
back
minutes
to
left.
this was the
Oh,
this was the lunchtime. Oh, you should have seen the hat yesterday.
oh, that's a beautiful. That's gonna make me want to have a very elongated cigarette. Please grab your other hat.
Yeah, the hat. There's hats everywhere around here. I'm telling you.
This is performance art at this point. This is
That's what we're
wonderful.
doing. So our afternoon teas really have become, they've morphed into something out of our control.
Do you and Dave live close enough to one another that you would normally see each other? And,
No, fuck no. No.
There's a distance between you. How distant are you both?
I wish, too close probably. It's a small island. We're on a series of small islands over here. No, Dave's in Bedfordshire, right, Dave?
I'm in Bedfordshire, just north of London, and you're in West London, southwest London, aren't you?
Yeah, right beside Twickenham Stadium.
Yeah,
Okay.
Twickers, yeah.
Okay. See, to my mind, that's neighbours. That's you're side by side.
Yeah, I can get down there in about an hour and a half, I think. 2 hours on the.
That's not
2 hours
good first yet.
Wow.
And we will edit that silence out. Let's keep chatting then, guys, and then we will stop wasting your time. You can get back to being a homeschooler. I know you're probably a great teacher at home, both of you.
Oh, the patience that I have is amazing.
Yeah. I've always known that about you. Joshua, what are your strengths as a homeschooler?
Say that once more.
What are your strengths as a homeschooler?
Strengths is staying out of the way of my 11 and 13-year-old and let their teachers teach them remotely. So they have assignments that they're given every day that they have to do work on, and they're graded on. If they have questions, they come to me and my wife, but they're smarter than me, so I just let them do their thing.
Well, that's lucky. You seem to be a very active parent, at least as much as an active friend to Jason. So that's nice. What are you doing now? What's exciting? I know Single Cask Nation. When did it start? When did you guys start bottling your own stuff?
So we were established in 2011. We started bottling 2012, and we started putting booze in front of Nation members in 2013.
Yeah, that's
so
right.
Nation members, you started privately, or to explain that a little bit, because I think it's a cool method you guys built up on.
Yeah, so and it's so perfect because it's everything we've talked about through this conversation. Is
well, maybe not everything.
we were there for the community, right?
Yeah.
Joshua had a following. I had a following. They were trusting us to recommend bottles to them. We were hoping that they would trust us on selecting bottles for them. And so when we went out and started sourcing casks, we would say things like, this is a cask that people will love. This isn't just a distillery name that we think will sell, but instead the juice that will be in the bottle will resonate with the people who follow our palates, listen to our recommendations. And so that's why, along with the launch of Single Cask Nation, people would become members. We would fly around the United States hosting tastings. We would get to meet members. We would get to introduce people to the nation. They would become members. It really was getting a sense of who was relying upon us for these whiskey selections. And it was great. I was doing a tasting at 7 Grand in LA, and this chap came up to me afterwards, and he said, I hadn't heard of Single Cask Nation before, but my friends brought me along to this tasting. I loved everything I had, and I've come to realize in tonight's tasting that the world of whiskey is so vast. I need somebody who's deeply immersed in it to curate it for me. Yeah, and so you tonight have brought along an Amrut. I didn't know there was single malt in India. You've brought along a Cooley. I didn't know there was single malt pot still in Ireland. Like, I am becoming a member tonight because I want to see how you lead me through the world of whiskey. And he did mean genuine world, right? A literal sense of the world of whiskey. And he started buying up and became a very good nation member. And it goes to show that without community, we're nothing. And we're, I think, and Josh and I talk about this a lot, we're privileged to be part of the whiskey community, which personally I can't imagine a better community of people. And that's what I'm missing on the lockdown. That's what we've focused our time on with Single Cask Nation. That's why we created Whisky Jubilee Festival, was to see our community up close and personal. It's why we created the podcast, to be able to speak to that community. It's why we have a private members-only Facebook group that is incredibly active. It's community. All the way down, it's community.
But I need to add on to that, because as wonderful as community is, because it is wonderful, we wouldn't be where we are without the whiskey community. Found that having a membership program where we had to purchase membership to access. You had to purchase a membership to access our whiskeys was a pretty rollback and a big barrier to entry for a lot of people, and wanted to cater to and be a part of the community. We're also trying to grow a business, and we were on just slow kind of growth. Jason was a philosophy professor for years and gave up his professorship to become an independent bottler and try to make his passion his job, right? What pays his bills.
That's why he was so comfortable being a Svengali and a guru. Now,
right, that's it. There you go.
Yeah. You won't believe this, but my number one push in philosophy was about community. So there you go.
But so because we really needed to experience some growth to keep the sustainability of to stay in the business, we let go of paid 2017, and we started what we call our retail range. So, or you'd have to get online, you become a member, you purchase the whiskey online, and a retailer delivers it to your doorstep. We still do that, and the online portion we now call our special projects division. Those are like, if we have agreements with certain distilleries, they don't want us selling store shelves, but they're cool with us selling online, then, we'll put that whiskey there. But we started our retail range, and so now we're targeting 18 to 24 casks of whiskey per year into the US, so 3 to 4 releases of 6 whiskeys at a time. We don't always hit that. But it wasn't until then, and us starting to bottle some bourbons, that we really got noticed, that people really started taking to us. Of the bourbons, and then finally just getting onto store shelf, trying to get away from selling whiskey in a vacuum and get in front of the larger sort of whiskey sphere, if you will.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was going to ask you, is it just Scotch, to try and lead you to that point, because I think that was your breakout moment with some of those American releases that are legendary now. And I always thought, even as an outsider, before I joined Adam Brands, I always thought Boutique was one of the only independent bottlers in the world who bottled truly global casks, whiskeys from everywhere. And you guys do that too, in parallel, on the same timeline. It's not one came first. So why?
Yep.
Well, there was a reason we were called Single Cask Nation. There's no whiskey mentioned in there. And when Josh and I first started the company, he was a much wider drinker than I was. He had many more categories that he drank through. I was a single malt guy and a beer guy. And so in getting to know Joshua more and spending time with Joshua, talking with Joshua, there was reason to start exploring a wider spirits world. There was a chance to get into rum, a chance to get into mezcal, a chance to get into the American spirits, which for me, for the longest time, did not fit my palate at all. And I've had a lot of fun exploring them and learning more about them. And so there was always the hope that we would go beyond whiskey. But we wanted to leave that door open with the naming of the company. So it was always coming. There was never any doubt about that. It was finding the best examples, the most interesting examples of those other world spirits. And that's really what we've been spending time doing now.
Yep.
You guys having that kind of forethought is pretty sophisticated. So you deserve a kudos for that. It's in your company name. I mean, being able to think forward like that is fucking cool. And
Thanks,
you've always given a shit about whiskey for the right reasons, which of course it's the drink, of course it's what's in the glass, but it's the stories that you can tell over that glass and the people you meet through it. So, and you've definitely kept that spirit alive and made it contagious for so many people with thinner beards and more hair, younger people than us. When we got into whiskey, I was 26 years old. I just to spread that to make sure there's another wave of nerds like us coming behind us. So thank you guys.
Yeah,
As a drinker,
man.
not as yeah.
Thank you.
No, thanks a million.
Dave,
for
let's
having us
wrap,
on.
man. I'm done talking. Oh, of course, I'm done talking to these schmucks. Though I think they have their own podcast they can waste and fill with their chat. Let's get out of here.
Yeah.
Anything to add, boys?
Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon and wasting time with us and playing my stupid game. That's for sure. It's always a lot of fun putting these stupid things together and seeing how people react to them. But yeah, thanks for playing along and getting in the spirit of the corn dog.
Oh, it was fantastic. That was a well put together game. I'm honored that we got to play it. And I'm on my way out of here, Dave, because I haven't complimented you enough. I will say this. When I was pouring Single Cask Nation at Glasgow's Whisky Festival last November, you had your stall for Boutique, and you had people wearing headphones having this immersive experience in front of your table. And it looked fantastic. And people who would come to our table after your table, I had to ask them about it. And the number of people who were just blown away by how they got to be immersed in what you were doing, beautiful, absolutely beautiful. So major kudos to you and Boutique for immersing people, even as they're standing at a busy, noisy whiskey festival.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's good fun. Glasgow Whisky Festival is one of my favourites, I must admit, because they're up for anything there. And yeah, I mean, it was 100% take up on the headphones. Let me have them. Let's see what's going to go. So I have no idea. I'm talking and getting no feedback. Initially it was strange, but then you're getting the thumbs up and the smiles and the whiskey going around. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. Yeah, a lot of fun. Thank you for that. Yeah.
I would imagine in Glasgow, the only thing you have to be careful of is all your headphones don't disappear in people's bags. I say that as a proud airman. So love Glasgow, love Glasgow. Okay,
yeah,
Sam's kicking us out. We better go.
Well, let me just say thank you for having us, for inviting us. Sam, it's always lovely to see your face. Dave, it's so lovely to speak with you, to see your Kalila tattoo, to see you in a cowboy hat, and it's just it's a brilliant time in the days where I just need to. I love my wife and kids, but it's nice to see other faces every now and again, and so I appreciate you popping up on my computer screen and talking to us.
Yeah, Dave's beard has my wife's beard beat, and so it's been wonderful to see a better beard.
I missed that contact too, guys. I look forward to seeing you, and we are going to hug big time. So thanks a lot for being here. One Nation Under Whiskey, Single Cask Nation. These are our family. Thanks for tuning in. Uncorked Whiskey Sessions. I've been Dr. Whiskey.
And I've been Boutique Dave.
Bye.
Hey everybody, can you hear my voice?
Yes, a little loud, Sam.
Tough shit, you got no choice. So grab a glass and sit back in your chair, 'cause Uncorked is going